Okay, be honest. Does this look like I was just trying to set up some cozy nighttime vibes, or like I meant to record earlier in the day when the lighting would be better, but I just didn't? All right, we all know that just by me asking, we know which one of those is true. But we're rolling with it because I want to do a TBR this month. Oh, sorry, I'm also recording with my phone because my microphone just decided, no, I'd rather not. I'm just done. I'm done working for you. No, in reality, I do have a new mic coming tomorrow, but I feel like filming this now. My cat is rubbing his face on the camera, so if there's any jostling around, it's his fault. Anyways, let's get into the books. Actually, wait, let's talk first. Let's just chat for a second. So, Booker, you are so cute right now. He's being so sweet. I wish you could see him. I would take a picture, but then you'd see how messy my desk is. So this year I am reading the entire Booker long list again. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do it, but then I just decided, yeah, fine, I will. Oh, hey, buddy. You coming up here? This is Klaus. He's probably gonna sniff my wine because he loves sniffing drinks, you little weirdo. See, he loves to sniff drinks. Okay, let's not, because sometimes you stick your mouth on things when you sniff them. So I am reading Booker this year, but the difference is typically what I do is when the long list is announced, I decide, okay, I'm gonna just read the entire long list and then I'll get back to whatever other reading I was doing. And this year I decided that I would read 5 books in August, 5 books in September, 3 books in October. That still gives me plenty of time before the winner is announced, and I should finish a good amount of them before the shortlist is announced. So I feel like that's a good goal. Now for August, I actually read 6 of them. So I know, I'm ahead. And I started another one, which we'll talk about in this video because it will obviously be a part of my September TBR. But I am still aiming to read 5 in September, and then I'll just have 2 left in October. So let's go through the TBR. This also isn't all the books. I have a few ebooks as well. Let's start with the plotters. Now, if you're following TBR Spin, you might be thinking, Sarah, that was your August book. And you're right. This is my August book. I should have read this in August, but I didn't. I was too excited about Booker and a bunch of other excuses that don't matter. I'm reading it in September, okay? I'm excited about it. It's about a hitman. I read like 5 pages of it. Oh no, I read 14 pages of it. That's almost 3 times as good as I thought I did. But I did want to talk about my September pick as well, because the prompt was to pick a book that is based off of a real person. And I didn't have anything on my TBR spin stack that was based off of a real person. So I had to go to my larger TBR shelf, and what I decided to do was do myself a little favor and choose a book I knew I was going to be reading anyway. I mean, I guess all of my books on my TBR are that, but like for a specific video. And so I went with this one, and you may be thinking, that's a weird choice. This is Johnny Tremaine. I believe it is was often read in schools. I don't think that it really is anymore. I think by the time like my generation was going through middle school, high school, it wasn't really a thing anymore. I didn't hear about it, but I am reading this for my Ted Lasso season 2 video. Hello again. I want you to see the book, but also I'm gonna pet this cat. There we go. But I don't think Johnny Tremaine himself is like based off a real person, but this does have like Samuel Adams in it. It has, maybe I should have a Sam Adams when I talk about this book. That's not relevant. It's got Paul Revere. It's got another famous Boston person, John Hancock. So there are like real people in it, so I'm counting it. Oh, hi, it's me from later in the video. I forgot there was something I wanted to do at this point in the video, which is to do a random number generator to figure out which book to remove from my TBR spin stack, since I had to pull Johnny Tremaine off of my regular TBR. It wasn't on my TBR spin stack. So I need to make sure that I'm at 3 books going into October. So what I like to do is use a random number generator to pick which one to come off so that I don't have to make decisions. These are the 4. They'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Google. Give me a number between 1 and 4.
4.
No, Google, why? I'm upset. It's kind of crazy because I didn't even put this book on my TBR spin stack to begin with, but oops. It's Bret Easton Ellis's The Shards. There were 2 books I didn't want it to be on this stack, and that was one of them. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna read this in October. That's a mistake. I have so much reading to do, and I really want to do my Ted Lasso season 2 video. I'm gonna put it on there anyway. Anyways, back to the normal order that I recorded this in. And then this big guy right here. So I'm not planning on reading all of this in September. I was originally gonna say that I was planning on reading volume 2 because I finally finished volume 1, but it seems a little ambitious with all the other reading I have going on. So I'm actually just gonna say 200 pages. I'm hoping to read 200 pages of War and Peace. What is it about? It's about War and Peace. in Russia mostly. I don't have to explain what War and Peace is, right? But actually I am really liking it, but it's just taking me a while. Okay. And then up, oh, hello. And then up next is Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry. This is one of the Booker books, the Booker long-listed books. It's the one I'm least excited for. I'm just going to tell you that right now off the bat. What is it about? A policeman. Okay, it's about more than that. It's a retired policeman, and he's moved into this house. And then it sounds like it's going to be a lot of his like memories, his flashbacks to a former life. But also a colleague turns up and has questions about a decades old case. So at least we've got a mystery involved. Here's the thing. Whenever there's a book described as like someone's alone and they're having memories, it's rarely one that I want to read. That being said, I have read a lot of books that are very much that premise that I have loved. The Sea, The Bone People. I'm sure there's others. So I know that I do like books that have that premise, but am I ever excited to read that premise? The answer is no. I'm sorry. But I am glad that they threw in like that old case that's coming back around, because that piques my interest a little bit. Okay, and then we have Westheart Kill, which I'm actually somewhere between like a third and a half of the way through this one. This is in ARC. It's coming out in October. I really wanted to read it this past month, but it just wasn't happening. I thought that this was going to be a really great book to kind of break up reading the literary fiction of the Booker long list, but it turns out it requires more of my attention than that. It feels kind of like an older mystery where it like presents all of these characters to you and you should be able to figure out who done it by the end. I don't know if that's true. It feels like that. I haven't finished it yet, but I think if I can give this just like the time to sit down and focus on it and maybe like put a little character sheet together for myself, because that's my biggest problem, is all of these characters I know were introduced at the beginning and they were introduced well, but I can't remember which is which. So I'm going to try to carve out some time this month that's like just for this book. Then we've got 0 Days by Ruth Ware. This book I pre-ordered and I'm just excited about reading it. I talked about it in my reading some video. I read like the first chapter of this, or the first 5 pages, whatever I was doing in that video, and it really piqued my interest. It's about a couple who are hired by different companies to test their like security systems, so basically seeing if they can like break in. And at the beginning, like the husband goes missing or something, and my friend just got it from the library, so I'm gonna set up a little Storygraph buddy read so we can read it together. Then we've got The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, which is the longest book on the Booker long list, one of the books I've been the most excited about. I have already started this one and I'm already loving it. So it's about this family and them working through a downturn in the economy that's really affecting the father's business. But I believe the overall premise of the book is basically the butterfly effect, but with a bee. Okay, and now we have 3 Booker books that I don't have like physical copies of, but I do have digital copies of. Thank you so much, Booker, for sending those to me, because some of these books aren't out yet in the US and it would have been very difficult to try to figure out how I was going to get them. So the third Booker book that I want to read in September is Study for Obedience, which is by Sarah Bernstein, I want to say. Okay, and don't mind me, I have the synopsis here because I have forgotten what most of the synopses are for Booker books. I just remember my general feelings, and my general feeling about this one was positive. I just don't remember why. Oh yeah, it's about a woman who moves to a remote northern country, and then she starts seeing these like crazy things happen. Collective bovine hysteria, the death of a ewe and her nearly born lamb, a local dog's phantom pregnancy. Also, there's like suspicion around like her being there as a newcomer. I don't know, it just sounds kind of nuts and I'm really excited about it. And then the 4th book I want to read this month from the Booker long list is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch, which is about a woman scientist, mother of 4. God. And the GNSB show up and have some questions for her, or for her husband. Basically, she's trying to keep her family, her whole world together throughout this. I'm mildly excited about that. And then the last Booker book I am planning on reading this month is Pearl, which is about Marianne, whose mother goes missing when she's 8 years old. She grows up kind of really fixating on this event, and then she finds a poem called Pearl, and then she wants to make a visual representation of this poem. It sounds very weird. which is right up my alley. And then lastly, there are 2 other ebooks that I am hoping to read this month. One is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead, which I have as an ARC. So I'm already reading that. I'm getting close to the end at this point, but I haven't finished it yet. So technically it is a part of my September TBR. That's one of the books that I've been using as a break from Booker Books. And it's like the perfect thing to read before bed. It is just so engaging and like gets me into the story right away. Like anytime I pick it back up, I'm like fully there again. It's set in Louisiana. There's been a murder.
There has been a murder.
You know a lot more about it than like typical books in this genre, but I don't want to say anymore because I feel like twists happen like immediately. And maybe that's because I didn't read the synopsis before going into it. I just fully believed I was going to love it. So I just started reading it and didn't think about what it was about at all. So it felt like there was a twist like immediately, but now that I think about it, it was probably in the synopsis. It's a lot of fun. It definitely seems like one of those things where there's like something deeper going on. It's set in this like fundamentalist neighborhood and like that's thrilling enough. And then the other book that I'm hoping it would be really great if I read it this month, but it's probably the lowest priority just because of all the other reading I have. It's called The Other Half. It is basically about like these high society people, but then there's a death, there's a murder. I know there's more to it than that, but really I saw the cover and I like read that much of the premise and I was like, hell yeah. It just seems like a fun time to read about rich people like actually worrying about something, like a murderer on the loose. Anyways, I think that is actually my full TBR. I don't know how many that is. I'm gonna put the number here, but I would like you to know that typically I read 8 books every month. So this is unrealistic. I shouldn't even be setting this number. But really, my real expectation for myself is just to read 8 books this month. That's what it usually is. Like, if I read 8 books, I'm happy with myself. Let me know if you want to see more TBR videos from me. I always set TBRs every month. I just haven't talked about them in forever. So if you want to see an October TBR, and then maybe I can like let you know how I did for my September TBR and my October TBR, then let me know and I'll try to include those more often. Okay, great. What are you planning on reading in September? Let me know in the comments. And I will see you around here, around these parts for my next video if you want. And if you want to know when it happens, you should like subscribe and stuff. Man, totally nailed that outro, huh? Bye.